Day 3 of Green Bay Packers training camp has now concluded, so let's go over all the biggest takeaways and notes from today's practice. Today was a pretty eventful day. It was the Packers shareholders meeting right after practice. The last day Mark Murphy is employed by the Green Bay Packers and walked off that practice field for the last time. Also, Jordy Nelson was here, ESPN was here, and overall just a high energy, very packed day at practice. So first, I wanted to go over a couple notes from Matt LaFleur before practice. We saw yesterday that Aaron Banks had left practice, kind of was grimacing on the sideline and didn't return, and we're all waiting for what that potentially was today. Matt LaFleur was, of course, asked about if Aaron Banks was injured, and he said he just had a little back issue. Everything checked out all right. I would say it's going to be very day to day. So Packers just being precautionary there with Elton Jenkins and John Williams also with back injuries. I mean, what is going on out here? But hopefully Aaron Banks is able to return, say, Sunday or Monday, or at least when the pads come on, probably sometime next week. Obviously, the Packers just paid him a ton of money. Definitely expect for him to be on the field. Another injury update that I didn't hear about until this morning was that Savion Williams was out of practice today with a concussion. So we'll see how that progresses as we get back into practice on Sunday and when Savion's able to come back. Matt LaFleur was also asked so far what his thoughts are on Packers first-round rookie wide receiver Matthew Golden, and he said, quote, "He's doing some nice things. Certainly, he showcases his ability to catch the football. It's pretty impressive. He showed the ability to put his foot in the ground and had some good yards after the catch." We've been hearing a lot about Matthew Golden during camp so far, even had some 11v11 clips from him yesterday, and he looks the part. It's been a long time since a rookie receiver has joined the Green Bay Packers, and right off the bat is being implemented into first-team offense and contributing, and that makes sense because usually the Packers are drafting receivers, in the second to fourth round to even fifth round, so they're not pushed into the starting offense right away, whereas Matthew Golden has been, and he's looked the part. Quickly going over who wasn't at practice today. So the new additions, obviously not practicing today. Aaron Banks with the back injury, Savion Williams with the concussion. Everything else is the same. Quay Walker still not practicing. Did have a helmet on, was going through rehab. He was activated off PUP yesterday. We'll see if he returns a Sunday or Monday or something of that sort. Christian Watson still out. Colin Oliver, Amar Johnson, John Williams, and Elton Jenkins all still out, so no changes there. Going over the starters from team sessions during practice today. A little bit of a rotation on the offensive line. Rasheed Walker still at left tackle, but today Jordan Morgan filled in at left guard for Aaron Banks starting, and then they had Sean Rhyan still at center and Jacob Monk at right guard, and of course Zach Tom at right tackle. So we saw Monk at center during minicamp and OTAs. It's really been Sean Rhyan most of the time at backup center so far, and interestingly enough, Monk filled in starting right guard today, so Monk's still getting plenty of opportunities. We also saw Jordan Morgan later in the practice swap in for Rasheed Walker at starting left tackle. Obviously, Travis Glover saw some snaps at left guard, right guard, and Jacob Monk did see some snaps at center. So he started at right guard, but they also rotated him in. Packers just trying a bunch of different combinations, especially with Elton Jenkins and today Aaron Banks being out. And as for the defense, there was no changes in the starting lineup. Same it's been for the last 2 days. Now going over the biggest takeaways and notes from day 3 of Packers training camp. As I said earlier, it was a very high energy practice, and it makes sense because the Packers are off tomorrow. There's no practice tomorrow. It's Friday. It's the last day of Mark Murphy. There's going to be a lot of energy. A lot of fans were there today. They're back at it on Sunday and Monday. The player of the day on the offense was Dontavian Wicks. I was just talking about him in my highlight video about how much I believe in Dontavian Wicks, and he had a very, very good day of practice, was pretty much catching everything, which is great. Obviously, the issue with him is dropping the football, so great to see him today building that confidence, building the chemistry even more with Jordan Love and catching the football, including a 49-yard deep post over none other than Xavier McKinney for a long touchdown. Hoping we can get this clip somewhere. If anyone has it, feel free to shoot me a DM on Twitter, shoot me an email. We would love to have that clip to see the Tay Wicks deep touchdown from Jordan Love over Xavier McKinney. As for some other offensive takeaways, the Packers started to try out Matthew Golden on some end arounds and jet sweeps. We saw a clip, I think, yesterday in 11v11s where they ran a jet motion with Matthew Golden, and I talked about how they're probably going to start to implement jet sweeps and end arounds to Matthew Golden very shortly, and the very next day they did that today. One of which didn't go for much, but the second one, he got some yardage there. The Packers have a lot of players, at least receivers, that can fill that role, right? Jaden Reed was the main one last year. Now they added 3 more guys that can do those jet sweeps, those end arounds, and Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, and also McCole Hardman, and then even Christian Watson when he returns. Now the offense did have some ball security issues today, a couple fumbles. Nate Hobbs punched one out on Josh Jacobs. Awesome day from Nate Hobbs. We'll get into this in a second. And also Javon Bullard punched a ball out from Tucker Kraft. It looked like he may have been down, but the defense playing very aggressive today. Overall, the defense was flying around today. Even though Xavier McKinney got beat on that deep touchdown, one of the 2-minute drills, he was all over the field and forced a 3-and-out on 3rd down late in that drive. But a big day overall for these defensive backs and these cornerbacks. Valentine was probably the player of the day on the defense. He's been super hot for training camp so far. He had an interception yesterday on a tipped pass from Malik Willis, and he continued it today with another interception on Malik Willis, both of which not really Willis's fault the last 2 days. Yesterday it was tipped, and today Julian Hicks slipped on the top of his route, and the ball just floated up in the air, and Valentine easily came down with it. But really nice to see Valentine having a great start to training camp. Also had a really nice pass breakup on a stop route on Matthew Golden, also thrown by Malik Willis. Right now, obviously, he's the next guy up in terms of cornerback when you have Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs on the outside. If Hobbs slides in, Valentine is that next man up, and he's a super underrated cornerback. If you don't happen to be a Packers fan, not enough people are talking about Carrington Valentine. As I mentioned, Hobbs also definitely brought the energy today, and you see why the Packers loved Nate Hobbs and brought him onto this football team. The demeanor, the competitiveness, the pads aren't even on, and he's super physical out there today. Had a very physical pass breakup on Dontavian Wicks where Matt LaFleur had to pull him to the side and talk to him and say, hey, tone it down a bit. The pads aren't on yet. When the pads are on, go for it. But love to see that from our cornerbacks. That's why it made so much sense when I saw the Packers sign Nate Hobbs. He has that same demeanor, same play style as Keyshawn Nixon, as Carrington Valentine. All 3 of these guys love to get in your grill, and they don't shy away from physicality. And that's the type of defense, the type of cornerback room that the Packers are building for Jeff Hafley. And you love to see it in practice, in training camp. Those joint practices later this year, I think we have one against Seattle, and I forget the other team. Those are going to be fun. I think Nate Hobbs is definitely going to bring the energy every single day, and it's going to be great for those joint practices. Also, some decent pressure today from the defensive line. We saw a couple nice pressures from Lucas Van Ness. Nice to hear his name. Had a would-be sack against Sean Ryan. And we also saw a nice pressure, yet again, from Baron Sorrells, talking about him in today's highlight video, that it seems like every single day he has a good pressure or a would-be sack, and that continues today. Finally, to wrap things up, McManus, whose birthday is today, was 9 for 9 today, including 3 from 50 plus, making him 15 out of 15 in camp so far. I mean, it just feels so great to finally have a kicker. And honestly, I feel like McManus is entering his prime right now. He was a great kicker in Denver, but he has totally revitalized his career, and I'm so glad that it's in Green Bay. Overall, just great energy today. Love to see that from a practice right before a day off. They're back at it on Sunday and Monday. I'm hoping we'll get some insight soon enough from Matt LaFleur or Gutekunst when the pads are going to come on. I keep saying it every day. I cannot wait for the pads to get on, but that's what we're all waiting for. We're waiting for that so we can see the 1v1s. We can see the offensive line versus the defensive line. That's definitely a very fun part of camp. But I appreciate you guys coming by to the video. Those are all the main takeaways and notes from day 3 of Green Bay Packers training camp. Again, thank you guys all for the endless support here on this channel. If you could leave a like down below, it supports the channel a ton. But I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.